You ever watch a police officer's face go from tough guy to total confusion in the space of one heartbeat? Because that's exactly what happened when I handed Officer Rodriguez the deed to the lake. And let me tell you, there's nothing quite like watching a whole crowd of nosy neighbors and one red-faced HOA president realize they've picked the wrong fight. "So you're telling me that you own the entire lake?" the officer asked, glancing from my paperwork to Karen Wilson, who looked like she was about to explode out of her designer sunglasses. I couldn't help myself. I just grinned and said, "Not just the lake. The surrounding 50 acres, including this very spot you're standing on. That's the kind of moment you remember your whole life, you know what I mean?" But let me back up a sec. 3 months earlier, I was just another Chicago software developer sitting in a cramped apartment staring at an email from a lawyer I'd never heard of. My grandfather, who I hadn't seen since I was 10, had passed away and apparently left me some property in Georgia. "Like a cabin or something?" my roommate Tyler asked, peering over my shoulder. I shrugged, scrolling through the message. "Lawyer wants me to fly down and meet in person. Says it's important." And just like that, I found myself back on those winding southern roads, the air thick with pine, and memories of summers long gone fishing off rickety docks, fireflies in mason jars, barbecue smoke curling in the dusk. The lawyer, Mr. Jenkins, was one of those old southern gentlemen who seem like they're carved out of oak's slow-talking kind, eyes the works. He slid a folder across the desk. "Your grandfather always spoke fondly of you. He left you something substantial." I opened that folder expecting a rustic little shack. What I found was a deed for the whole damn lake and 50 acres of woods. "How is that even possible?" I asked, reeling. "There's a whole community around that lake." Mr. Jenkins explained how my great-grandfather bought it all in the 40s, and when the houses started springing up decades later, the family held on to the water. The beaches just allowed folks to use it. HOA got their little agreements, but we held the land. I swear it felt less like an inheritance and more like somebody had handed me a live grenade. I headed to the caretaker's cottage on the North Shore, a place straight out of a magazine. Big porch over the waterwood floors, a sense of peace I hadn't felt in years. That's where I met Frank, my grandfather's old friend, who'd been looking after the place. Frank was the sort who doesn't say much but says everything with a look. He told me my grandfather just wanted people to enjoy the lake and treat it right, said. "Not everyone did, though. The HOA's gotten aggressive," Frank explained. "Karen Wilson, she's president now, likes control. She's pushed for new rules, fines mandatory memberships. Your grandfather pushed back, but he was getting old. She took advantage. First week there, I started seeing it myself. Walk along the public beach, there's signs everywhere. No swimming after 8 p.m., no pets, no guests without HOA approval. Thursday night, I'm sitting on my dock, soaking my feet when this motorboat pulls up, sleek, expensive, driven by a woman whose smile could cut glass. 'Excuse me,' she called. 'This is a private lake. Are you a guest?' I told her this was my house now. 'Oh, you must be Robert's grandson.' Her tone never lost that icy sweetness. She started right in, 'You'll need to sign the membership agreement, well, $750 a month. All residents are required to join.' I said I'd review the docs. 'It's not optional,' she said, like she was doing me a favor. That night I called Mr. Jenkins, who just laughed. 'Absolutely not,' he said. 'Your property is exempt. HOA membership is voluntary for everyone.' Next day I skipped the meeting and helped Frank fix up the public dock. And wouldn't you know it, next morning Karen showed up on my porch, sunglasses on, flanked by her husband, Doug the treasurer naturally, and some nervous board member. 'You missed the meeting,' Karen announced. 'We voted on new watercraft rules. You owe fees. I told them flat out my property is exempt and HOA membership is voluntary.' Doug stepped in. 'Your grandfather's exemption expired with his death. I told him to check the documents.' Karen's face could have soured milk. 1 week to comply or we'll take action." I just smiled and closed the door. That's when the real games began. Fines for dock repairs, violation notices, even though the repairs weren't on my personal property, but on public access points. Enough was enough. I invited Mr. Jenkins and Frank over, sat down with all the paperwork, and got the facts straight. The HOA only had power over architectural standards and the community center. No control over the lake beaches or who used them. So I delivered a formal letter to Karen, then threw a community picnic at the beach for everyone. No HOA fees, no rules about towels or splashing. The relief was visible. Folks told me stories about $200 fines for grandkids' towels, bans for feeding ducks, even kids suspended for excessive splashing. It was nuts. As we're wrapping up, a police car pulls in. Rodriguez steps out a little awkward. Received a complaint about an unauthorized gathering, he says. Karen storms up, points at me. He's trespassing, inciting others to break regulations. Rodriguez asks who owns the beach. Karen claims HOA control. I quietly hand over the deed. The crowd's dead silent as the officer reads. Ownership is clear, he finally says. Enjoy your afternoon. Karen, not missing a beat, starts rattling off fake code violations, unsafe docks, improper waste, whatever she can throw. Mrs. Patel, one of the longtime residents, steps up for me. Stop this nonsense, she says. Robert maintained this place beautifully. His grandson's done nothing wrong. Suddenly, neighbors are rallying around me, not her. The mask slips for Karen. You'll regret this, she hisses under her breath before stomping off. That was just the first round. The next morning, a convoy of trucks showed up, chainsaws, wood chippers, men in uniforms. Annual landscaping day, Frank muttered, but they've never touched this side before. Karen was there, clipboard ready, declaring fire hazards and easement rights. I told her to leave. She flashed a county permit, looked real, but my gut said otherwise. I called Jenkins, who confirmed it was forged to include my land. By then, even Officer Rodriguez was getting tired of her stunts. Maybe get some cameras up, he advised quietly. She's persistent. Turns out my grandfather had weathered the same storm. Mysterious dead fish rumors spread, broken windows nobody saw. And then the developer showed up, James Everett, slick and polite business card. Ready. If you're ever looking to sell, my company's interested. As he left, I caught Karen watching us from her SUV, not even pretending to look away. That night, dead fish on my dock and a printout of an HOA application. Could be a prank, Rodriguez said, but I wasn't buying it. Mr. Jenkins dug deeper. Karen had been applying for all sorts of permits she wasn't allowed to touch, everything from water quality to shoreline improvements. They'd been lining things up for years, pushing residents out, snapping up properties through shell companies. I could have sold. I nearly did. But Frank, wise old Frank, reminded me, some things are worth protecting. So I fought back, installed cameras, filed formal notices with the county, got security. And then the real ugly side showed up. Arson attempt at my cottage, a lawsuit for defamation from the HOA news crews in my driveway, with Karen at the mic, waving forged documents and claiming I was selling the lake for a mall. The crowd turned ugly, and I had to march out there holding my grandfather's deed, calling every lie in public. But it got worse. Break-ins, masked men. At night, one was Doug, her husband. I recognized the eyes, intimidation, the whole works. Even the police were compromised. 3 officers close with Doug, always the first on scene, their reports helping nudge families out. And when the town hall meeting finally came, I laid out everything, the shell companies, the money trails, the intimidation, the manipulation. Karen lost control, let the mask drop, and showed everyone her real face. Greed, anger, desperation. They burned the community center, tried to erase the record, sent ex-military muscle after me, but I just kept going. By the end, the whole town had seen through their game. Restraining orders were issued, the FBI got involved, and the residents finally stood up together. And as dawn broke over Lake Serenity, I stood on the dock, bruised, tired, but sure of my purpose. Some things you fight for no matter the cost. So now I'll ask you, after all that, where do you stand? If your community was on the line, would you back down or would you fight for what's right? Drop your story in the comments. Because I know I'm not the only one who's tangled with power-hungry HOAs, and I'd sure like to hear how you handled it. Let's talk justice. Let's talk legacy. Let's talk about who really owns the soul of a place.